All right, quickly before we start, under 6% of you guys are subscribed, which I understand. I usually forget to subscribe to channels pretty often, but if you guys could drop a sub, a like, and a comment, whether that's something positive or some feedback, it does help a ton. But with that out of the way, let's get into the video. All right, so guys, we're back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the AK-74N and the AK-74M. So I know the title just says AK-74N because that's going to be the main gun I'm going to try and focus on in this video. But the AK-74M is very similar, and I'm just going to be talking about it. It's almost like a brother to the gun. It's very similar, and it has a lot of the same qualities, a lot of the same advantages and disadvantages. So I'm just going to group them into one video. The AK-74 is going to be the title of the video because in general I like it a lot more, but the AK-70M is super similar and also a very solid gun. But yeah, I'm going to be giving some good builds and my thoughts overall on these two weapons. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. All right, so starting off, we have a pretty base version of each of the weapons. With the 74N, we have a vertical recoil of 85 and an ergo of 44. And for the AK-74M, we have an ergo of 50 and a vertical recoil of 85. So we got about 6 more ergonomics on this one, but the same amount of recoil. All right, so off the bat, you would think that the AK-74M is better. It has more ergo and the same recoil. But basically, how these guns are weighed is not really on their base stats, but on how well they can accept parts and how much that affects their total recoil and ergonomics. So it's all about how the final product of the gun, which kind of tells you how good the gun actually is. So with that out of the way, let's go in and actually see which parts go on each gun. Okay, starting with the AK-74N, is I'm going to be going through what I use as my build for it. So basically, taking from the start, you have to put the Troy handguard on it. I think like this is the best in stock and for the price. Then you want to put the JMac RRD 4C muzzle brake on it, which lowers the recoil and gives you the most ergo. The contrast right there of which one is better. Next, I toss the Fab Defense PDC on there. You can also toss the Bastion as long as you get rid of this. The Bastion should work just fine. I don't. I choose to keep this on just because I think it's easier, but it's to each their own. The Zenit RP, if we look in the infographic right here, right? So without having it, it lowers ergo, and this just adds 1 ergo, so I would recommend holding on to this. Sight is personal preference. And then onto the stock is where these guns differ quite a bit. So with the 74N, I like to use just the Zukov. I probably pronounced that wrong. I apologize, but that's the stock I use, along with the Scorpius pistol grip. And magazines are also personal preference, whichever one you want to sacrifice ergo for this. But I generally go with the PMag. I think, in my opinion, it's one of the best. Obviously, like 10 rounds can get you more ergo. 60 rounds take a little bit of ergo, but it's 60 rounds, so it's all personal preference. And lastly is the grip. So there's basically 2 things that I would recommend. This goes for this gun and the other gun, the AK-74N and the AK-74M. It's either the shift grip if you want a little bit more ergo for also good recoil reduction, or you can use the RK2, which still gives you solid ergo, but takes off a little bit more recoil. I choose to use the shift grip. I like it a little bit more, but once again, it's personal preference, and it's just kind of something you have to play around with. Okay, so now on to the AK-74M. It's going to be pretty similar, as you'll notice. We have the JMac RRD 4C muzzle brake again. Up here we have the Troy Industries for AK, the handguard. Same thing. Once again, the PDC Fab Defense. Also, if you take this off, you can toss the Bastion on there. We have whichever sight you like, and I'm going to wait to get to the stock. And then once again, we have the shift grip, but you can also choose to bring the RK2, whichever one fits your preference. I also choose to bring the AK-12, which doesn't take off too much ergo. You can obviously get a little bit more if you use like a smaller mag, like we said, but it doesn't take off nearly as much as something like a 95 rounder. So, actually, last thing is the Scorpius pistol grip again, just like we said before. And now we can get into the stock. So basically, for the stock, this one doesn't have as easily compatible stock. So what you want to do is you want to go up here. You want to I think it comes like this. You want to take this off, and instead you want to choose the PT lock, and then it gives you not here, and then it gives you 2 options. You have the PT1, which adds about 9 ergo and subtracts 53 recoil, or you can get this one, which adds 11 ergo and subtracts 54 recoil. So in almost every case, the PT3 is going to be better. So that is the one I opt for. Both these are pretty strong, but the PT3 is going to be better overall. But yeah, so that is my AK-74M grip. So now I'm going to get into which one I think is better. Okay, so the AK-74M, we can see, has an ergonomics of 72 and a recoil of 50, while the AK-74N has an ergonomics of 75.5 with a vertical recoil of 48. For this reason right here, I'm going to say that the AK-74N is better in my opinion. Now, there are quite a few things you have to take into consideration. You have to take into consideration your budget. You have to take in, like how much the parts cost. Are you able to spend this? And it really depends on, are you able to sacrifice a little bit of cash to get better stats? And in my opinion, I'm fine doing whatever. So I like to have the AK-74N as my go-to gun. It has not a much lower recoil. It only has 2 less recoil, but I think 2 recoil is nothing to it's not a ton, but if I could choose this over 50 recoil, I'm choosing this most days. Money isn't really an issue for me. And I don't think it's an issue for many people this late into the wipe, but I would definitely recommend the AK-74N, this build specifically. Once again, we went over the ways to change this up and how to customize it as your own. But yeah, I definitely like this build on the AK-74N, and I would recommend it. So with that being said, now I'm going to go into the range. I'm just going to kind of fire them off and show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so now we're going to be in the range, and as you can see, on my AK-74, I actually don't have a grip on it. I couldn't get the quad rail at this time, which is something you actually do have to look out for, is make sure you can get all the parts. I couldn't get it. I'm not gonna make too big of a deal out of it. It only increased my recoil by about 2, which shouldn't affect the firing process that much. So with that being said, we're gonna aim down range now, and I'm gonna fully auto this without controlling recoil. So as you can see, the recoil it almost kind of went down after the first few shots without controlling it at all. So now let's aim right here, and now I'm going to kind of try and control it a little bit more. Right there. So based on that, you can just see how accurate this gun is. If we go to a closer tag right here, this is going to be me not controlling recoil at all. So when you get up to it, you can kind of see how it you start right here, and then it goes up here, and then it stops, and it just kind of goes left and right a little bit, has some horizontal recoil, but it doesn't go up farther. So like if I try and aim right at that dot right there while controlling recoil, you can hit quite a few, like most of your shots, to be honest. So this gun is that is one of the reasons for me why I like it so much. So if we look if we go back here a little bit, here, let's just shoot right at this wall. I know this is pretty close, but if we were aiming right here and all these shots hit, especially if you're shooting some hard hitting rounds, that's gonna do a lot of damage to your opponent very quickly. So yeah, I hope this video helped overall. It was a pretty basic video. I was just kind of comparing the two guns and then choosing which one I thought was better. But I hope it gave you guys some good ideas and some good build ideas for the AKs. It's honestly one of the best guns in the game right now. Low recoil, very high damage ammo, and if you can use it well, it can definitely give you some good support in raids. But yeah, with that being said, if you liked the video, definitely like it, and if you haven't already, I would definitely appreciate a sub. But that's basically gonna be it. Thank you guys for watching.